Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today on Face Off we're looking at which Doctor was the best at guest starring in other Doctors' eras. So basically multi-Doctor stories. Which Doctor was the best when he was playing the Doctor in an era that wasn't his own. Basically when he was not the main Doctor but was still in the story. And the poll results are staggering, and I am going to agree with the poll results. Let's talk about it. Let's sip on the glasses here. Which Doctor is the best when guest starring in another Doctor's era? Recasting of the role when necessary is acceptable. That's for the first Doctor, and of course I included the fifth Doctor as he was the guest Doctor in Time Crash, and I do love Time Crash. So this face-off, instead of just having two, I pitted several of them up against each other with the first, second, third, fifth, and 10th Doctor all vying for the top spot. And over 3/4 of the vote, 76% of the vote, went to Troughton. Even with 5 choices, 76% of the vote was Troughton. 3/4. Literally. The other 4 options had to split 1/4 of the vote. The first Doctor had 6%, the third Doctor had 7%, the fifth Doctor had 2%, and the 10th Doctor had 8%. So I guess the 10th Doctor narrowly has second place, but Troughton just crushed in this one. And I agree with that. Troughton was my choice easily. I don't even have to think about it. Other Doctors do great. Don't get me wrong. I love Pertwee in The 5 Doctors. I like Tennant in Day of the Doctor, except for his hair. His hair always throws me off in Day of the Doctor, but him himself, he's great. And I love the 5th Doctor in Time Crash. I love Richard Herndl in The 5 Doctors. He's such a good first Doctor. Highly underappreciated. Highly underrated. But yeah, Troughton steals it. I mean, anytime Troughton is in a story, he steals it. 3 Doctors, 5 Doctors, 2 Doctors. He just steals the show. He's always so good in this role. Whether he's the main Doctor or he's a guest starring Doctor, he's always so good playing the second Doctor. I love him. You're not allowed in that. Me, I'm allowed everywhere. I love that guy. He's great. I absolutely love that. So for me, I didn't even have to think about it. I was simply curious when I posed the poll originally how the poll would turn out. I wondered how many people thought like I did. Most of you, apparently. Because we had 170 votes, and 76% said Troughton. That was pleasing to me, because Troughton is far and away my choice. That was a very easy one for me to decide on. Let's see if we have some of the comments here. Turn the chair a little bit here. Beware the Shell said, I knew exactly where all the votes were going before even voting myself and scrolling down to the comments. I'm going to be honest, that's what I expected as well. I was not surprised that Troughton just ran away with it. Because I've heard other people talk good about Troughton as well. And, in multi-Doctor stories it says, Troughton's just brilliant. He effortlessly recaptured the character of the second Doctor in all 3 of his returns. 100% agree. He's probably the best actor to have played the role, to be honest. I think there's a good argument to be made for that. I think Capaldi is one of the best actors to play the role. I think Tom Baker is one of the best actors to play the role, mainly just because he is the Doctor. I mean, the Tom Baker and the 4th Doctor are pretty much the same person. But Patrick Troughton, definitely, I think there's an argument to be made that he is the best actor to ever play the character. Paul Bailey, who's also a fellow Doctor Who YouTuber. Matter of fact, he just recently ranked all of the Doctor Who intros. It was a really good video. Although him and I vastly disagree on the Pertwee intros. I like the second one a lot more, and he likes the first one a lot more. But it was a really good video. He said Troughton for me. He is amazing as always in the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, and the 2 Doctors. To be honest, he steals the show. He steals the show in all the multi-Doctor stories. I agree. I love the way he argues with the 3rd Doctor as well as the 6th Doctor. Yeah, the 2nd Doctor, oddly enough, does seem like the hardest one to get on with when it comes to interacting with other incarnations of himself. You'd think the 2nd Doctor would be the nice, amiable one, but he's not. Or amicable. But he isn't. He's very, he doesn't get along with his other cells well. He doesn't get along with 3 well. He doesn't think much of 5. He doesn't get along with 6. The only one he seems to really like is 1, the first Doctor. That's interesting to me. JLBWHO, who is also one of my patrons, says 100% the second Doctor. Love him in the 3, 5, and 2 Doctors. The bickering between him and the 3rd Doctor is the first thing I think of when I hear multi-Doctor. Yes, and one of my favorite scenes in all of Doctor Who is when the 2nd Doctor first shows up in the TARDIS in the 3 Doctors. I love that scene so much. TARDIS Spider says Patrick Troughton never failed to bring all of that 2nd Doctor energy when on screen. Correct. I agree. Henry Andrews says Troughton steals the show every time. Problem Being says definitely Troughton. He chewed up every scene he was in. Alice Collins says has to be Pertwee for me. In 5 Doctors, he was just amazing. Pertwee is phenomenal in the 5 Doctors, and Pertwee is also one of my favorite Doctors as well. The Flyattractor, also one of my patrons, says voting 2nd Doctor. His addition to not a 2nd Doctor story just elevates it up to being as good as a 2nd Doctor story. Yes, that makes no sense, but I'm going with it. Actually, it makes perfect sense to me. Let me read that again now that I know what you're saying. It says, his addition to not a 2nd Doctor story just elevates it up to being as good as a 2nd Doctor story. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I get exactly what you're trying to say. Bananas are good, says Troughton easily. Not much else to say. Oh, my dear fellow, you are being a bit dim, aren't you? Your effectiveness is now doubled. Halved is more like it. Now, there's no need to be ungracious. I love that scene. Bobby Fratwell says, 2nd, obviously. He's brilliant in the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors, and the only good thing about the 2 Doctors. Personally, I say that Sultaran theme. I just did the video today talking about the Sultaran theme. It's still going in my head. I love that theme. He did a sick baddie in Enemy of the World. He is really good in Enemy of the World. He's also in The Omen, the original 1976 Omen with Gregory Peck. But yes, I do like him as Salamander, isn't it, in Enemy of the World. Jeremy Duncan says Pertwee just dominated in the 5 Doctors. Pertwee is great in the 5 Doctors. I would have loved to have had another multi-Doctor story with Pertwee in it. The Strange Lightbulb says Troughton. I'm not actually sure there's no commas, but like a gajillion%. There's a lot of zeros there. I need some commas there. Mikey Elliott says the 2nd Doctor in the 3 Doctors because I like how the 3rd and him get along, but I do like the 10th Doctor and Day of the Doctor with the 11th, but if I had to choose, it would be 2nd. Yeah. Everybody seems on the same page there. Even the comments are like Troughton, 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 Pertwee, Troughton, 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 Pertwee, Troughton, Troughton, Troughton. Yeah, it's just something about Patrick Troughton. Man, he elevates any story he's in, even if it's not his era. He's so good. Man, I wish Patrick Troughton was still alive and could show up in a multi-Doctor story, like for the 50th or the 60th, because it would make the 50th would have been so much better with Troughton, besides more than just the little clip show at the end with the previous Doctors. Or if Troughton was still alive now, which would be kind of weird because he'd be over 100. But by golly, I can daydream. So yeah, the 2nd Doctor winning the poll against 4 other Doctors and still taking home 76%, over 3/3 of the vote. That just made my day. So I would like to know, if you didn't get a chance to vote in this poll, who you would have voted for between the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 10th Doctor. So comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to support what I do, there's a link to that down in the description below, and I would appreciate if you take a second and just check that out. I have updated it recently with a couple additional tiers, added some more bonus stuff to it. If you want to look at that, you haven't looked in a while. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me down there as well, and a link to my Amazon wish list is also down there. I update that regularly. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.